Hello and welcome to the podcast We Are Selling, brought to you by Realtair, the platform of choice of real estate professionals who pitch, sign and sell real estate. Today we are joined by the incredible Mr. Tom Panos. Tom, welcome aboard.
Hi Lee, thanks for having me on again.
Tom, we've had great responses to your segments on the program, and bringing you back is an absolute pleasure. And our topic today is in the area of vendor management. We've spoken many times on the show that a well-informed owner is easy to manage, but I think today we're in a time that you can't hide behind the report, the text or the email. Getting to the truth and having real conversations is the only way we're seeing the results come through. Tom, what are you seeing out there? What are you observing? And what are you coaching your people on to do in this situation?
So firstly, Lee, I'm seeing a lot of the industry, more than half, maybe 2/3, even potentially 3/4 of having worked in real estate in a market that only had low rates or that rates were coming down. The majority of the industry has been working in a marketplace where rates have been quite stable. We now all of a sudden are working in an environment and have been for a year that rates have been going up, and there's been negative media about, real estate. So most of the agencies are not equipped because they haven't worked in a marketplace that has had these issues. So I am seeing agents struggling with what I say, delivering bad news in a positive way, which has to be one of the ultimate skills of any agent. The ability to tell people what they need to hear, not what they like to hear, Lee.
Tom, agree with you here, and let's call it a level 3 conversation. Some people just don't want to deliver any bad news at all because it's negative, it's not real. Yet what's negative is when a property's on the market way longer than it need to be and you didn't let them know. Like, you imagine being a doctor and you know something about something, don't tell them because that will upset them. We're not in that situation. We are in a situation where it's an asset. If it's going to be released, it needs to be aligned. What are you guiding your people on to approach those conversations so they're not hanging up on hurting people's feelings?
Firstly, if you lock yourself in at a price when you listed the property, you won't be having any hard conversations. And the reason why is that you simply can't bring yourself to see a vendor and look like you're either being dishonest, deceptive, or a loser, that you were gung-ho, that you were going to get them a price and now you can't actually get that price. So it all starts with pricing at the listing presentation. Did you give them a price that was unachievable? Did you give them hope? But more importantly, Lee, did you leave the door open to allow to have realignment conversations? So the first thing I'm training real estate agents is list a property. Yes, you've got to give them some hope. Yes, you might say to them, listen, you want $1 million. It's only worth 8 to 9 based on these comparable sales, but I don't care about that, because my job is to try and find someone else out there that thinks the same value as you. But if we don't get that person, we are going to need to sit down and relook at how we move forward in this. Are you an agent that leaves the door open for conversations about price in the future? Or are you an agent that overpriced and overlist turkey and you don't have the courage to look them in the eyes and give them the real feedback afterwards?
Tom, leaving this door open is so important. And on the program, we've discussed that, questions get answers and statements get judged. What are some of your favourite listing questions to leave that door open, still give them a chance, but they know this is part of a process?
The first one is I'd always ask them, what's your understanding of the current market? Good question. And I can tell you, I ask this question to every vendor on my auctions on a Saturday, Lee, and 99% of vendors all say the same thing. It's not the best. So that's the first question. It helps me understand where they're at. The second question that I like to ask at a listing presentation, or I don't do it myself, but you and I train agents to do that, is Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I'm curious, will you be selecting an agent on the things the agent can control, like their strategy, their process, their marketing, their database, or will you be selecting an agent on the things that the agent can't control, like the price they give you for the home? Out of the two, how will you be selecting an agent today? It's a good question, Lee, because it's basically saying to them, listen, do you want me to tell you how we're going to go about it, or do you just want me to bullshit to you and give you a high figure? Because I can participate in that game as well if you'd like.
Yeah, it's an interesting tone required out there right now, isn't it? And I love this line of questioning, and I was really excited to have you on the program today to discuss this. And one of those questions we've been putting into the presentations now is, and if I was presenting to you, Tom, and be it phone or face-to-face, Tom, can I ask you, why have you chosen now to put the property on the market, knowing what we know about the national marketplace, the results across all brands? Why have you decided now to put it on the market?
Good question, Lee. That's a very good question, because what you're hoping it does is to identify their deep down purpose, reason why, their value as to why now, right? Because on the surface, if there's not a strong why now, Lee, you probably wouldn't go on the market based on all the media, right? So what you're trying to do is to find out, what are they bought elsewhere? Is there an illness in the family? Is job transfer? What's the scenario here, you know?
Yeah, I think getting to the truth is a skill, and it doesn't have to be about the marketplace, the pricing. You're actually just saying to someone, why have you chosen now? So Tom, I've got a property on the market at the moment. It's been reduced 500, but I've got other plans. So when you've got other plans, you're a real seller versus everyone says to me at the moment, why wouldn't you hang on to it? Because I don't want to hang on to it. We're doing something else. We've made plans. We're excited about the plans, and this will need to be sold. But it's not going to get the price that you could have got. I'm aware of that. But it's still in my plan to sell rather than not sell. And I think right now you need an owner who wants to sell. Now, needs to sell is different. There's going to be lots of people coming up in the marketplace that will need to sell. But when you want to sell, you are more in tune with the marketplace because where you're going's been adjusted too. Let's not forget that. Tom, you've got another property up there up in Byron Bay, and that marketplace is going through huge transition right now that if anyone was considering those areas, it's a good time to do that now.
Correct. So here's the deal. I got a vendor at the moment I auctioned for 2 weeks ago, and I had this conversation because he was going to Byron Bay. So long story short is he turns around and he says to me, I'm not going to accept this offer. So he was living in Abbotsford, which is around the inner west, right? So he goes, I'm not going to accept that offer. And I said, okay, no problems. I go, what are you going to do? He says, I'll take it off the market and I'll wait till the market picks up. And I said, okay. And when do you think that'll be? He said, Lee, I think he said, maybe 3 years, 4 years. I said, okay. And then when you do that, what's your next move? He says, then I'll go buy in Byron. And I said, okay. I said, I don't want to sort of be devil's advocate here, but I got to tell you, there's a flaw to what you're saying to me. He goes, what's that? I said, you're going to wait till your home goes up another 400 grand in 3 years, and then you're going to sell it, and then you're going to go buy in Byron Bay. What makes you think that yours will go up and the one in Byron Bay won't? Like, are you putting a lay-by on Byron now? Are you buying it at today's price? So you're 100% right, Lee, when you say what really matters is if someone wants to sell and there's a reason for it, often, particularly if they're selling and buying in the same market, financially, they're actually in the same position than if they were selling when the market's hot. It's the reason that they're selling. The changeover figure is probably going to be, the same. In some instances, if you're upgrading, you're actually better off upgrading in this market because the changeover figure is actually better,
Couldn't agree more. And I love that saying of, why would you stay in a house where you don't want to be waiting for it to go up when you could move to the house where you want to be and wait for that one to go up?
That's well said. I like that. That's a beautiful sentence. And what makes it beautiful is it's so true. What are you going to make a decision for your family based on your life or based on the market? Are you going to let the market dictate how you're going to live your life when we know that financially you're going to be in a revenue neutral position? Nothing's going to change. So I think agents need to dig deeper. That's the point, Lee. You're talking to a client. You got to say, what if this happens? And what are you going to do if this happens? That's what good agents do. They get the whole picture and then they try and, diagnose a solution and then prescribe what that solution should be for them.
Tom, couldn't agree more. And that's a great little audio tip for us today of, we're discussing interviewing the owner, asking great questions, but you can ask a great question where you don't know the answer, but you are wanting to know. Don't know it all too well and be right all the time as an agent. It is fantastic to say, just run that by me again. You're going to take this one off the market, wait 4 years, and then you haven't lay-byed the other one, have you? No. So you'll have to pay the market value of that one, and chances Byron's going to go up more than here. That doesn't add up. You're going to lose money. Whereas right now, you could live up there, be happy, and be ahead because that one will go up more. And that's what you want, isn't it? And that logical questioning to not know it all too well is a great part of today's program. Tom Panos, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lee. Always a pleasure.